What do you do when you are driven and want to be the absolute best in the world at something and you're competing at the highest of levels, but yet you aren't there quite yet? What do? Well, you reach out to someone like the great Justin Sua, who we have on the Speak and Get What You Want podcast today. Justin, great to be with you.
Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And Justin, you're privileged enough to work with some of the highest, most competitive, successful people in the world. And first of all, let me just ask you what makes those individuals tick? What is it that causes people to get to that elite level?
That's a great question. It is one that you hear often. You can go and YouTube that question, what makes the best in the world the best in the world? And you ask 10 different people, you might get six or seven different answers. One thing that we talk about very often in high performance in elite professional sports is this concept of necessary but not sufficient. So you'll hear somebody say hard work is what separates it, but hard work is necessary but it's not sufficient.
Mm.
Focus is necessary but not sufficient. The growth mindset necessary but not sufficient. Resilience, grit, all of those things. And so what separates the best in the world is they have all of these different skill sets, these competencies, but one thing they all have is a system. They have a process that they have engineered that increases the probability of success because these men and women are competing at the top. They're in the zero sum game where there's a winner and there's a loser. And two people competing against each other might have the exact same goal, but do you have systems and processes in place that can help you engineer consistency day after day, season after season, again, that increase the probability of success? So that's what I would say is one of the key hallmarks of the difference between the best and the rest is they have a system.
Okay, but Justin, you're only working with the most elite, most exceptionally successful individuals. So, do they have some sort of a system when you sit down with them initially?
So what's really interesting is we all have systems, and you either have a system by design or you
Mm.
have a system by default. And the results that you and me and these athletes and anyone listening to this, the results that we are consistently getting is the byproduct of the system that we have. Again, whether by design or by default. And so they already have these systems, and my job is to help them either shine a light on it so they can do it on purpose with purpose, or if there's a certain outcome that they're trying to improve or increase the probability of, we go through a process to help them engineer a system that will get them a little bit closer to that outcome. And so it might look like I might have a player come up to me and say, I want to be more consistent, or I want to have more confidence,
Mm.
or I want to achieve this result, or I want to have these kind of stats. Then we take a look at it. We look at the current horizon, time horizons, the constraints, clean up some definitions, and then we create an actual executionable process that they can do to get them closer to that.
Okay, so a couple of things I just want to point out. The one thing that I loved you said there is you all have a system. Everyone has a system. You've either intentionally built it or you just have developed it. But you have a system and process, and it's getting you to where you are. But the question is it getting you to where you want to be? But
Yes.
but Justin, you also said something that I found interesting is you're working with these elite professional athletes and executives, but you said some of them come to you and say, I need more confidence.
Yeah, that happens a lot. That's one thing that I wish people understood a little bit more of is that these elite performers aren't robots. They have fears, they have doubts, they have uncertainties, they have insecurities. There are moments where players will have an amazing performance that are seen by millions upon millions of people. And right before the game, they would tell me, oh, I don't have a lot of confidence today. I don't feel very good today. But one thing they've learned to do is to act in spite of their feelings. It doesn't matter how you feel, it only matters what you do. And so that's something that I have learned, that they have taught me, that confidence isn't an accurate predictor of future success. Sometimes you'll feel really confident and perform poorly. Sometimes you won't have a lot of confidence and perform great. And so it's really focusing on getting competence and not chasing confidence.
Wow. Okay. So, and you and I were talking before we hopped on about some of the teams that you've worked with, and you're talking about world champions that have won World Series, world national championships, all of the above. So you have star athletes on those teams coming to you saying, "I'm just not feeling confident." And you're saying you said something there that's powerful that you chase competence, not confidence.
Yes, not confidence. Yes, competence is your skill level. Do you have the reliable, sturdy skills to that can be upheld under pressure when it matters? That's why practice matters so much. That's why training matters so much. That's why they eat the way they do and sleep the way they do and train the way they do, so that their skill sets could be upheld at the highest level of performance. And one of the things an analogy I love to give is imagine going underwater. So imagine I have two aluminum cans. One is empty and open, and the other aluminum can is unopened. And as we're scuba diving, going deeper and deeper into the ocean, the open, empty aluminum can is going to implode. It's going to start to crumple. Where the other one that has not been opened is going to be able to have the integrity of itself. It's not going to get crushed yet. And the question is why? Well, because if we look at physics, the pressure on the outside of the empty can is more than the pressure on the inside, which causes it to implode. Where the opposite is true on the other with the other can that has been unopened. That's competence right there. The deeper you go in sport, the deeper you go into the season, the deeper you go into the game, the more pressure externally there is going to be. And if you don't have anything on the inside, in your mind, in your heart, if you don't have deep skills, you're going to be crumbled under pressure. And so you want to be like the unopened can. You want to feel your skill set. You want to feel your mind. You want to feel your heart. You want to feel your body with a robust set of skills just so that you can withstand the pressures on the outside.
Wow, that is powerful. That's a great analogy. And you think about it, those who have been extremely successful are intentionally filling that can. And that's why
Exactly.
so Justin, they'll come to you and say, "Hey, listen, I don't feel like my can is as strong as it needs to be. What am I missing?"
Yes. And so the people that I work with, I will say they don't need to be fixed. They aren't complainers. They don't feel sorry for themselves. They don't think, woe is me. They believe the phrase, you don't have to be sick to get better. They want to continue to sharpen and get better and get better. And so when they come to me, they say, Justin, this is my goal now. This is how I want to improve. This is how I want to get even better. And then I say, great, let's create a system for that. And so essentially, it's like a system for filling that can, a system for sharpening those tools, for building competence. That's what the work entails.
Okay, now everyone, a lot of people, especially those listening right now, may think to themselves, "Well, everyone else around me just is naturally confident." Do the people that you work with recognize that others are struggling with their confidence?
Now, a lot of times it's confidence is fickle. You don't really know if somebody is confident or if they're not confident. So you can't read their minds. And so
Mhm.
you might look at athletes. Athletes are trained to not show any chink in their armor. They're
Right.
trained to their body language, the way they answer, the way they speak, the way they walk, the way they talk. They are trained to exude confidence. But deep down underneath, some of these men and women might not have the confidence. They might be doubting themselves. And so it's very hard to look at somebody and say, "Ooh, I don't know if they have confidence or not." I was working with a coach one time, and he said, "Oh, we need to get a system for that player to have more confidence." And I asked the coach, I said, "Is it confidence or is it lack of focus?" He's like, "Oh, I don't I don't know." And so a lot of times it might be lack of confidence. Maybe they don't lack confidence. Maybe they're just tired. Maybe they're just not motivated. Maybe they just don't care. Maybe it's lack of focus. So I'm always very careful to just say, "Oh, that person lacks confidence." When I've never spoke to them, I don't know. They've never talked to me. It might be something else.
Okay, so but then unpack that for me for a moment. Like that's the first question you asked him was lack of focus. Why was that the first question you asked?
Because what I really wanted to do, it could have been any question. I just wanted to help the coach remember and realize that we're not mind readers. We can't look at somebody and jump to conclusions that person A acted that way, therefore they lack confidence. Or person B acted this way because they're a bad teammate or because they're aloof. We don't know. All
Right.
that's one singular data point, or maybe we should ask them. Maybe they don't have a system. Maybe they lack focus. And so, what I was trying to convey to this leader, to this coach in this instance, is that we can't be quick to judge. Let us pause, let's step back, and let's see. Maybe it's a byproduct of the system that they're in.
Mhm.
You're going to hear me keep saying system, environment, process. We got to be very careful to just jump to conclusions on behaviors. A true systems thinker steps back and says, what is happening that might be creating or that might be nudging this type of behavior? If it's not confidence, what else could it potentially be? I'm a big what else guy.
What, okay, so you look to, because are there typically contributing more than just one contributing factor?
Oh my goodness, there's tons of potential. We are all, you just gotta, we are, if we look at things as a system, we gotta, there are many nodes to it. It could be the environment, it could be their energy, it could be something going on at home, it could be something, it could be maybe they're injured. Maybe a player is just literally injured and not saying anything to anybody. It might be lack of confidence. There could be so many things. And so before we design a system, you can't change what you're not aware of. So let's not jump to conclusions and say it's just this one singular thing. Let's have a conversation with the athlete or the person. What's going on? What can we support with? What's your thoughts on this? I'm seeing this. What do you think about it? I could be wrong. It could be this or it could be that. Oh, is it that? Oh, is it? It might be a problem at home. How can we help you? Can we help you can we create a system to help you separate from home and work or on the field and off the field? You don't have a system for that. Let's create a system for that. And that thing might help them exude more perceived confidence on the field. And so I love to get in and take a look under the hood and see what it could really be.
Well, but it sounds like some of the most important things you do when you're working with these high performers is asking the right questions, because
Yes.
they perhaps don't even understand why they're in this slump. They don't get it. And it's like, well, maybe we just attribute, and I can see now why we attribute too many things to just confidence when in reality there's a lot of underlying issues there.
You're absolutely right. It's necessary but not sufficient. There could be a lot of variables to the system. And a lot of times, systems could create unintended consequences and emerging properties that we might not be aware of unless we investigate.
So Justin, what are some of the questions people listening right now? What are some of the questions they should be asking themselves? Well, let me ask first, is it possible to evaluate your own system?
So there is. However, it's so much better when you have somebody from outside you to be able to ask these questions. So I always view my job as not one to make bold statements, but to ask bold questions, questions that
Oh,
where
whoa, stop
once
there. That's powerful. Because so many people want to make that bold statement, but you're asking bold questions. I love that. That is fantastic.
Yeah, and especially in my role, because I've never been a Major League Baseball player. I've never been an NFL quarterback. I've never been the president of a major sports franchise. I've never been a special forces operator or a cadre member. And so I need to come in with this humility of what can I possibly tell them? So I don't have the answers. I have the questions. I always imagine if I truly believe that they have the answers inside of them. They're the one who's going to drive, they have their hands on the steering wheel to their system or to their process. My job is to help them find their answers by giving them a shovel in the form of a question. And so these questions could be simple questions like, what are you afraid of? Why are you afraid of that? What are the obstacles? What's the downside of it? It could be a number of things, but the true magic isn't necessarily in the initial question. It's in the follow-up question. It's repeating back to them what they just said. You just said that. Do you believe that? And many times they'll say, I didn't know I believe that. I've never said that before. And then It's not some kind of kumbaya session. It's what are you going to do about it now? What are the system that you're going to create? And so if I were to give you a series of questions of how to design a system, every system, number one, needs a direction. What is the output you're trying to achieve? Like the question is, what do you want? Like, what do you want? And we were talking about that. Some people don't know what they want. And you might not know what you want, capital W, long term. What do you want this year? You don't know that. What do you want this month? You don't know that. What do you want this week? What do you want today? And it might be something you're trying to avoid, something you're trying to accomplish. It could be anything. And I'm not here to judge what you say, what you want. I want to be the best in the world. What does that mean? And so that's number one, is it has to have a direction. Number two, it has to have a purpose. Every system needs a purpose. Why? Why do you want that thing? When you know why you do what you do, you have more power to do it. Number three, you need inputs. What are the tactical, practical things that you have 100% control over, that if you do those things, it'll increase the probability of getting number one? Like that you can say, if I do these things, it'll get me number one. Next question is, what are the constraints? What are the obstacles to executing those 1 to 5 things? And what's going to be your plan to achieve it? Because two things people underestimate: how long it'll take and how hard it will be. Number five is, how are we going to measure it? How do you know the process is working? Because outputs are lagging indicators, inputs are leading indicators. There's going to be a time horizon. You're not just going to plant a seed and boom, apple pops up or the fruit pops up. You need to water the fruits or the roots in order to get the fruits. But are there certain data points? How do we measure it to know that your system is tracking, is on target, even though you're not seeing the results yet? And then lastly, who is holding you accountable? Who can you share every single week how you're doing with your system? And so those are some of the things, those are some of the questions that we go over with every executive, athlete, coach. That's the basic framework of the system, the performance system we create with people.
Okay, so I have two follow-up questions there, Justin. First is, how important is specificity in all that you're doing? And what I mean by that is, if someone says to you, I want to be the best in the world at that, is that sufficient to them? Is that okay?
You got to be able to measure it. What does that mean? Yeah, it's very important, because it gets down to data. So you can't trust a system you don't truly understand, that you can't execute. So if I want to be the best in the world, what does that mean? Oh, I want to be the MVP. Well, you can't control that. Oh, well, if I'm going to be the MVP, then I need to throw for this. If I'm a quarterback, I need to throw for this many yards and have this many touchdowns. Okay, if that's the case, then what can you control about that? First of all, what can you not control about that? Oh, I can't control route running, this, and this. Okay, what can you control? I can control these 5 things. Okay, great. Let's get down to, okay. And then we say, that's why I always say this: the process increases the probability of achieving the output. It doesn't guarantee it.
Wow.
You can't guarantee it.
Wow.
And so that's all we're going to do. And so then once we get down to the nitty gritty, to use your word, I ask them, I say, here's your system that you just created. Are you telling me that if you do these 5 things every single day or every week, that you're going to increase the probability of throwing this many yards and this many touchdowns, which will increase the probability of you winning the MVP? And they'll say yes, or they'll say no. Okay, what do we need to tweak? And then we'll go over that. So yes, specificity is huge.
Wow, that's key, because I would think that when you just said, I want to be the MVP, I love that you came back, and I'm sure a player said something similar to you like that. I want to be the MVP in the NFL. And you go, okay, but you can't control that. That's powerful. Right. And so what can you control? Now, the second question I had, Justin, is how critical is that individual that's keeping you accountable?
Oh, it's huge. Ultimately, it's the person who's driving it. We want people will support what they help build, and so I want the athlete or the coach, the person I'm working with, to.
People will support what they've helped build.
Yes,
that's amazing.
Yes, and so this entire process, they are building the process. They are saying what they want. They are saying the constraints. They are designing it. They are saying how they're going to measure it. I'm just the guide on the side, not the sage on the stage, a quote that we're very aware of. And so when it's all done, I want them to say, I designed my system. I designed my performance process. Now they're always in the driver's seat. And then the person to help them is huge because it's easy to be lied to. And the person who lies to us the most is ourselves. It's easy to cut corners. It's easy to kind of give to say, okay, I'm not gonna do this. I'll pick it up better tomorrow. But when you have somebody who you can look at and somebody say, hey, you told me to ask you, hey, how you doing with this? Or show me your scores. Show me your weekly scores. The measurement that you have, show me them. Let's go over them. Oh, wow. Well, you had a bad day on Wednesday. What happened there? Or are you noticing any patterns? Or has your system created any unintentional consequences? Is it taken away from being a good father or a good mother? Have you noticed that you're not getting a lot of sleep? Okay, let's go and tweak the system a little bit more. And so having somebody on the outside can help you see that maybe you're going through and you're like, you know what? This doesn't matter as much to me. Maybe I want to change my system to optimize for something else. Maybe I want to optimize for being a good teammate or being a better leader. And so that's why it's really good to have another person to bounce the ideas off of.
And
They're not your boss. They're just there to help you think out loud.
and our system's always evolving.
Yes. And we're always learning from the system. That's another thing as well is you're going to learn from it. You might get in the middle through and you might realize, I don't want this. I don't want to chase this. I don't want this lifestyle. Or you know what? I feel empty. I say I want an MVP, but what I really want is I just want to be happy at home. Or I want to be able to balance work life and home. Or I want to be a good teammate. Or maybe they get injured and all of a sudden it changes everything. Now they're not playing. Now they have a new process just to be healed. And so the process can evolve. The system it's emergent, it changes, and that's why it's so important to understand that we can learn so much from the process, and you need those feedback loops to be able to learn from it.
Yeah, and if you understand the process, so my nephew was playing college football, and he had an injury, and so they explained the process and recovery, and he goes, "Yeah, I don't love this enough to go through that." And so now, I mean, he's
Right.
been exceptionally successful in business, but he loves that now, right? And so understanding that process and paying that price. But
Exactly right.
that accountability, Justin, are have people achieved a high level of success without having somebody keeping them accountable? Or have you always seen that?
So the thing about my world is sports. You either have a teammate,
Hmm.
everyone has a coach, everyone has you have somebody there. If you don't show up for strength and conditioning, these guys show up for strength and conditioning because they want to get better. They're going to ask, "Hey, where are you at?" If you don't operate at a high level at practice, you're going to have a coach say, "Where are you at?"
Mhm.
If you lollygag on the field, you're going to have a teammate say, "What are you doing? You're hurting the entire team." And so I come from a world where it's very high feedback, and you need to have tough skin because if you start dropping your focus or your attention or your effort, you're going to give some accountability. So, but to say that there's nobody out that just I don't know. I'm sure that there's somebody
Well,
out there who has achieved some things. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I also know from our previous conversations, you've worked with some of the most recognizable brands across the world. And so you have worked with a lot of high performing athletes, but you've also worked with high performing executives. And so
Yes.
they may not have been in the athletic world, but did they still have people holding them accountable to get to the level of a leader of a multi-billion dollar company?
So I'll put it this way. These executives, they call for that very reason. They say, "Hey, I want to design my own performance system as a leader, as an executive, and I'd like you to help me with this." And they tell me how lonely it is to be the executive, how lonely it is to be the president or the head coach. They tell me how they can't express a lot of things out on their mind because they don't want to incite any fear through the organization. They can't give half-baked ideas because they're afraid they might distract everybody with the initiatives they currently have. They, even though they say they have an open door policy, they want critical feedback because of power dynamics and hierarchical org charts. People don't feel safe to give them that kind of feedback or to hold them accountable for different things. People might be afraid to lead up or to manage up, and so they'll call me and say, "All right, well, Justin, I need to create some systems for myself, and I want to have weekly conversations to hold me accountable. I want to do what I say I'm going to do and have somebody who's not tied to the org chart, not tied to the organization, who's not afraid to ask me hard questions to have these conversations weekly." And so some of these, and they're the best executives in the world. They're solving multi-million dollar problems. And even they want coaching, or they want an advisor from the outside or someone from the outside to support them in holding them accountable for their own initiatives.
But it should be exciting for everyone listening to, Justin, that even these head coaches in the NFL feel lonely at times. Even this athlete who's ready to step up to the plate in the World Series struggles with their confidence. They are not, and I love the phrase you used earlier, these individuals are not robots. And in a lot of people's minds, they just think, I'm not wired that way. Well, you absolutely could be. And so and just to summarize as we wrap up, Justin, one thing that you do and give me and give everyone listening, you give everyone hope that if you put the right process in place, you can live the life you want rather than living the life you may be living right now.
Oh my goodness. I thank you for saying that. That's the message. That's the thesis. You could achieve the things you want by designing a system or a process that increases the probability of those things. And you're right. If you look at these athletes and these executives, it's not that they're more special necessarily. They've designed their systems in order to be able to tolerate the stress, to build confidence. And so whatever you want to achieve, it's about identifying, creating a process, creating a system that will increase the probability of getting those outcomes that you're looking for. And you can do it. You can do it. It's going to take some work. You're not going to be perfect. And that's what I love about systems. It's like putting on your white coat. You're a scientist. It's viewing your situation like a scientist.
Right.
How can I engineer a better version of myself, and get curious and get creative? And you're going to fail and you're going to be messy, and then turn this dial and this lever. Okay, what if I do this way? Okay, what if I do this? Test it. Test the system. Test it for a day. Test it for a week. Test it, and then see what it does to you and see what it does for you. I'll give you an example. I have a professional, an executive who's just exhausted. He's totally burnt out. He's like, Justin, I am too tired to even create a system. I have too many things on too many emails I need to respond to, phone calls. Like, the fact that you're saying I need to design a system is exhausting. I don't even want to do that. And I said, okay, what about this? What about this? All I want you to do is this. For the next 5 days, I want you to just take a mental note of things that give you energy and people that give you energy, and things and people that take away your energy. Energy givers and energy takers. That's it. He's like, okay. I said, just notice. You don't have to write it down. You don't have to document it. You don't have to, just pay attention at the end of the day. What gave me energy today, and who gave me energy today, and what took energy, and who took my energy. And we'll talk in 5 days.
Wow.
We spoke 5 days later, and little did he know, I didn't want to tell him, but we just designed a system. He had no clue. He knew what he wanted. Okay, focus on this. We knew how to measure it, ask himself those daily questions, and he had an accountability person. It was me, and he had a time horizon, which was 5 days. At the end of 5 days, I saw him, and we were at the practice field. I said, "How'd it go?" He goes, "Oh my goodness, Justin." He goes, "It opened my eyes." And he told me all of his green moments. He told me all of his red moments. And then this is what we did. I said, what if We created a system to get you to do more green things and do less red things. He's like, yes, let's create a system for that. And so here's a guy who was exhausted to even think of creating a system. I gave him a secret little system, and that got him excited to actually create one to optimize for more greens. And we did. And he's like, wow, he's able to live on purpose with purpose a little bit more, because you can't change what you're not aware of. And I just wanted to show him that creating a system isn't complicated. It's not hard. It can be very, very simple. And a system is a robust, sturdy system.
Well, and Justin, what you really gave him is you gave him a destination and you showed him what his life could look like. And you made that so clear in his mind that he was like, I can do that. And he'd been driving around for hours, in the rain going, Justin, I don't want to drive anymore. And then all of a sudden you painted the picture for him and you said, what if I can get you here? And he goes, I'll drive there. I can absolutely
Yeah.
drive there. That is so powerful. Well, and even Justin, what you shared, oh my goodness, you turned this into a book. I mean, and hopefully you have a few of those because, as I think of people listening going, well, I'm not an NFL quarterback. I'm not an executive for some billion-dollar company, but they can follow you, Justin. I know your Instagram is you're always sharing incredible content on there, and people can learn from you, even if they're not working directly with you.
Yes, thank you. And where I'm sharing a lot of these principles and stories is my newsletter. I have a newsletter that just came out a couple months ago, and this is where I'm putting everything out there. All the tools and strategies
Wait,
and
how do they
techniques
get
and
your
stories.
newsletter? How do they get you?
Yeah, so it's if you go to any of my social media,
Okay.
you just click the bio. So it's pagpros, Pagpros kit.com. And you'll get a news every single Monday. I don't miss. And so
That is
you'll get a
amazing.
story. You get a story and a strategy on how these elite athletes and coaches and executives designed a system. You get three
Oh,
different anecdotes.
that is phenomenal. Justin, thank you, thank you, thank you for all you shared. It was powerful. So much good content. Everyone needs to follow you and learn from you. Thank you for who you are, Justin.
Appreciate you, brother. Thanks, Chad.
Great being with you. Bye now.
Bye.